Two messages from two different people.
But he was cheating too. We was even.
You said you admit you were cheating because he was cheating too?
Yeah.
There's no hard facts or information, and when I do sleep with someone else, I tell them the truth.
She tells me and persists to tell me nothing. I said, well, what happened last night to make you feel this way? She tells me that she had slept with her ex-husband, Justin. Not only once, but 3 times during the night.
He's the father and I'm tired of it. Because it is upsetting you.
Yes.
And it's because you feel like they're lying on you? Because Mr. Jordan says you consistently lie.
One of the many reasons people end up in paternity court is because one or in some cases, both of the parties involved. And today we are going to take a quick look at those cases, starting with the case of Grimes versus Davis. Jamie Grimes claims that Mr. Davis, her ex-boyfriend, has always played the role of doting dad to their alleged son. However, Davis recently flipped the script, declaring he isn't the father. According to Davis, Jamie's web of lies not only wrecked their relationship but also sparked his paternity doubts, especially since there are 2 other potential baby daddies in the mix. At first, Davis confirms that he was indeed excited when Jamie told him they were going to have a baby just 3 months after they started dating. But as the relationship went on, he noticed that she would tell little white lies here and there, acting like it was no big deal. This planted seeds of doubt in his mind. When he decided to do some digging, he found answers he wasn't expecting. Turns out Grimes was busy telling 2 other guys that she was carrying their baby too. Talk about a plot twist. But what makes it crazier is that Jamie just shrugs off like it was nothing because in her words, Davis was cheating too. Now these 2 are a match made in heaven.
2 messages from 2 different people.
Oh, 2 messages.
But he was cheating too, so we was even.
Ms. Grimes, I want to understand what you're saying. You said you admit you were cheating because he was cheating too?
Yeah.
After seeing the messages, Davis understandably erupts in anger. In her defense, Jamie claims she lied to the other men so she wouldn't have to raise the child alone if she and Davis eventually broke up. Now, that's a tangled web of deception with a hint of desperation, adding even more fuel to this fiery drama.
But why would we even text messages where you were lying to guys?
Exactly.
Because me and Anthony was finna break up and I didn't want to be alone. I wasn't trying to be alone. I was trying to get Jelani back.
Due to his paternity doubts, Davis refused to sign the birth certificate of the child, James. He even presented the incriminating text messages to the court. With this evidence, Judge Lauren invited one of the men, Mr. Warren, to the courtroom. And according to Warren, he believes that James is his son because he was intimate with Jamie at the time of conception.
Do you believe you are James's biological father?
Well, yeah,
Why is that?
because around the same time she had, it all add up.
The timeline.
Yeah,
He don't
the
look like you
timeline.
though.
Soon enough, the courtroom untangles Grimes's web of lies and discovers that she indeed cheated on Davis with Mr. Warren, despite her continued denials. If nothing else, her texts clearly said as much.
But then you were texting Mr. Warren saying I slept with you and cheated on Anthony. So it sounds like y'all were mingling but wasn't single. Because the message said I cheated on Anthony with you.
After spending practically the entire time denying any uncertainty about who the father is, Judge Lauren decides it's time to pull the DNA results. After all, they're probably the only factual thing in this courtroom. Scratch that those and the undeniable fact that Grimes is a serial cheat.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Davis.
Next up, we've got the case of a married couple who showed up in paternity court because, well, someone cheated and I'm sure you can guess who did. The Fetters are currently knee-deep in a messy divorce because, according to Mr. Fetters, his soon-to-be ex-wife, Mrs. Fetters, is a serial adulterer who even had the audacity to cheat on him on Valentine's Day. Mr. Fetters is convinced that his wife's cheating led to the birth of their 9-month-old son, Corbin. Or should we say her son? On the other hand, Mrs. Fetters thinks her husband is an irresponsible crybaby who can't keep a job, stay faithful, or even keep a woman. Ouch. Now that's a pretty low blow. The courtroom tension is skyrocketing as these 2 air their dirty laundry in front of everyone. But even with the name calling and all, Mrs. Fetters is sure that Corbin is her husband's.
Well, today, Your Honor, I ended up in court because my wife is a cheater, and I do not believe that
That
the
is not
son that
correct.
she bared 9 months ago is mine.
So you are firm on that belief?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
From Mr. Fetters' point of view, he met Mrs. Fetters at a water bowl a couple of years ago. And as soon as he set his eyes on her, he fell in love at first sight and believed she was the love of his life. They began dating, but 6 months later, she confessed to him that she had slept with a member of his family. Now, Mrs. Fetters denies this, claiming she almost did but backed out because the said family member lacked good bedroom skills, just like her husband. Ouch. The blows just keep getting lower as this courtroom drama heats up.
No, I did not. The family member and himself lack in a department, so I did not finish the duty. Nothing happened.
Oh,
He just thinks something happens. He has no hard facts or information, and when I do sleep with someone else, I tell him the truth.
But that's just the tip of the iceberg. A while into their marriage, Mr. Fetters found out that she had cheated on him again. This time, it was with her ex-husband, Justin. Not once or twice, but 3 times on the eve of Valentine's. The revelations keep piling up, making this case juicier by the minute.
She tells me and persists to tell me nothing. I said, well, what happened last night to make you feel this way? She tells me that she had slept with her ex-husband, Justin. Not only once, but 3 times during the night.
To make things even more complicated, the couple had sex only a few hours after Mr. Fetters found out about the affair with her ex-husband. About a month later, Mrs. Fetters discovered she was pregnant. Coincidentally, the conception window fell on the exact day she was with both men.
wow. So the conception window pointed right to the dates when you were with both men. You've been honest about it.
Yes.
After finding out that his wife was pregnant, Mr. Fetters began to have doubts about the legitimacy of the child being his. I mean, who wouldn't? She did tell him that she was with someone else on the same day. When questioned about this, Mrs. Fetters dropped the craziest bombshell yet. She claimed she cheated because a doctor had confirmed that Mr. Fetters couldn't have children due to his low sperm count, which makes no sense because if he can't have kids, then how is he the father? Anyways, after all the back and forth, Judge Lauren finally had enough of all the yapping and decided to pull out the results.
Has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Fetters.
In the end, the child might be Mr. Fetter, but it doesn't change the fact that his wife is a serial cheat. Jordan and Haim turned up to paternity court because apart from dealing with infidelity, someone is being tricked into fathering a child that likely isn't his, and that person is Chris Jordan. According to him, he was duped into signing the birth certificate of Haim's daughter, and like anyone else would be, he's furious. To make matters worse, about 2 years later, he was told that another man is the child's father. Now, Chris needs proof that he isn't the father so he can get his name off the birth certificate ASAP.
Mr. Jordan, you claim the defendant tricked you into signing her daughter's birth certificate and being a daddy. But 2 years later, you were told that another man is her biological father.
Now, what makes this case so heart-wrenching for Chris is that Haim initially assured him that the other guy had already done a DNA test, so he had absolutely nothing to worry about. Jordan, trusting her completely, believed that baby Caitlin was his first daughter. They even began building a family together. Jordan is convinced that Haim manipulated him into this situation because he was more than willing to step up and take care of her and Caitlin as long as he believed she was his. The real kicker? Chris thought he was living his dream, starting a family and playing doting dad, only to find out 2 years later that Haim might have been playing him all along.
She tricked me into thinking that I was the father. She tricked me into thinking that Caitlin was my first daughter. She tricked me into thinking that the other guy hadn't got a paternity test on Caitlin, because she told me, oh, he already got one, and you know what I'm saying? That's why I know it's just you. She tricked me into thinking that family was something sacred.
But when Judge Lauren asks Haim if the allegations are true, she straight up denies it without batting an eyelid. Eventually, though, she admits that she had only been with one other man since she met Jordan. She even breaks down in tears at some points. Now, I don't know about you, but this sounds a lot like she's trying to play the victim card.
He's the father, and I'm tired of it.
Because it is upsetting you.
Yes.
And it's because you feel like they're lying on you? Because Mr. Jordan says you consistently lied. What are you feeling?
Hurt.
According to Jordan, everything was going pretty well. They were living their little fairy tale until one day, Haim had an argument with a family member who decided to air her dirty laundry. That's when the facade started to crumble.
And then like everything just comes right out right then. Man, I'm like,
And
it
so
hit me.
the
It hit
family
like an
member shows
18
you
wheeler.
pictures,
Yeah,
and this evidence you submitted is one of the pictures.
Yeah, and as you can see right here, Yana, like I don't like to say people look alike, but I'm like, yo, it's a lot of resemblance.
Now, that's a different kind of crazy. After seeing a picture of his daughter on another dude's lap, Jordan understandably flips out. But even with the obvious evidence in front of everyone, Haim continues to lie with a silly smirk on her face. So much so that even Judge Lauren decides to call the other guy, Santavius Knight, to the courtroom. As soon as Knight takes the stand, he confirms that Haim had told him Caitlin was his.
Do you believe Caitlin is your daughter?
Yes, that's my baby. She told me when she got pregnant, she like, I'm pregnant. I'm like, what you telling me for? She like, well, it's not Chris, cause me and Chris been together a year and a half, and we ain't got pregnant. Soon you touch me, I get pregnant.
After Knight's testimony, it becomes clear to everyone in the courtroom that Haim has been skillfully weaving a web of lies for years. Yet, even now, she isn't ready to tell the truth and is allegedly still seeing Knight. The tension in the room is palpable as Judge Lauren and the audience realize just how deep Haim's deception runs. Now obvious that everyone is in on her game, Haim finally breaks down in tears again and admits that she isn't sure who Caitlin's father is. And with that, Judge Lauren decides that it's time to finally pull the test results.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Jordan.
Last on our list, we've got the juicy case of Bosley versus Jackson. Miss Bosley and her son are demanding a DNA test, convinced he was tricked into signing the birth certificate of a kid that isn't his when he was young and dumb. They're so sure of it because, let's face it, there are two other potential baby daddies in the mix. The defendant, on the other hand, is sticking to her guns. Despite admitting to cheating on her alleged baby daddy, she insists that her 3-month-old son, Maverick, is his.
I feel like my son made a terrible decision by signing a birth certificate. You know, basically, I just feel like, you know, we need to know. We need to know because I don't want my son to have to go through life wondering if this is his child or not.
Miss Jackson, on the other hand, claims that Cydric talked her into having a child because he was head over heels in love with her. They moved in together and started dating shortly after. However, she admits to cheating on him with not one, but 2 other co-workers. As messy as the situation is, Cydric's mother, Miss Bosley, just wants to clear the air and find out if Maverick is really her son's child and her grandchild. The courtroom is buzzing with anticipation as Miss Bosley emphasizes how Cydric, with all his good intentions, might have been played for a fool. Miss Jackson's love triangle, or should we say love quadrangle, has everyone on the edge of their seats.
That's why I'm here. This baby
Right.
is what matters. And clearly, this situation here, nobody knows anything. All they know is that they were just sleeping.
As the back and forth continues about how many men Jackson was with at such a short period of time, Judge Lauren steps up, puts on her mom jeans, and schools Jackson about why a young, beautiful woman like her should be sleeping. And honestly, you've just got to agree with Judge Lauren. I mean, all that sleeping around is the reason she's not sure who her son's baby daddy is.
I'm not saying this to you. Look at me when I'm talking to you, Miss Jackson. I'm not saying this to you because I'm angry. I'm saying it to you because I don't know if you have anybody in your life to sit you down and say, you don't do that.
Cydric also says that his suspicions began when he saw a guy that looked exactly like Maverick on Jackson's phone when he was scrolling on Snapchat. As soon as she saw him, Cydric sent the picture to his mom, who basically confirms his suspicion.
He sent me that picture, and immediately, just in all honesty, I was like, that's not your son. Immediately, because this made me think twice.
To top it off, Cydric also presents evidence that Jack was having a sexual relationship with the man in question at the same time.
This is between Miss Jackson and the man you believe is the father. It says, I need some blank. That's what Miss Jackson says. He responds, blank, you can come this way, babe.
Surprisingly, Judge Lauren calls up the other man, Mr. Green. After confirming that Jackson was trying to have sex with him, Green goes on to say that he isn't Maverick's biological father. Before they reveal the results, Cydric's mother gives a heartfelt speech about how she's still going to be there for the kid even if he isn't her grandson. She admits that, in a way, her son isn't entirely innocent because they wouldn't be here if he wasn't also sleeping around. With the emotional tension in the room, Judge Lauren finally decides it's time to see the results. Everyone holds their breath, waiting to find out the truth about Maverick's paternity.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Bosley.